Cool. We're good. Of course we're good. Perfect. Yeah, I would love this to be interactive. So if there is any questions, hand up. We're going to make it happen. I have way too many questions. This is a running theme, okay? So I'm going to do my best with this one. I think in terms of the thought process for myself, I've tried to break it down into different sections. Part of it is very practical: money, funding, taking that first step, getting started. I'd love to talk about how you worked out that you were starting to find something that worked. You've mentioned a pivot. You've mentioned obviously your business has changed. You've learned so much along the way. I think it's the same for all three of you actually. So finding something that works. Mindset and motivation. It comes and goes. There's ebbs and flows. But if there's any hints or tips, I'd love to hear some of those. And then again, all of you have talked about the people you've worked with, teams, freelancers, people that you've turned to for mentors, etc. So we'll go roughly along that way. But as I say, hands up, jump in at any time. So I'll maybe come to each of you first, actually, just to get us moving. In terms of that tipping point, can you describe to the people out there? There may be some people in the audience that have an idea in their head. They'd like to start a business. What was that like for you when you took that first step? What was it that made you flip into it, and how did you find that process? And I'll maybe start with you, Madalena, and we'll head down the row.
Well, it started with a bit of a push from my initial co-founder, let's say, because I felt like he also had the skills, the business acumen, whereas I didn't. I had the technical skills and the knowledge when it comes to education and data. But I think the most important part for me, once I make a decision, it's very difficult for me to go back on my decision. That's a blessing and a curse, I would say. But I think that's how it all started. And it was overwhelming because it was just a completely new world to me. And I took it as a challenge.
Okay.
And I do like a challenge. I think that's what drives me a lot of the time, even if I hate it. I hate it's not that I hate the process, but sometimes I go so deep into it that I forget to stop.
Yeah.
So I would say for people out there that may want to start something, I would say just do it, because there's nothing.
It sounds like you were very open to the idea and kind of jumped in. So
I like learning constantly. I like to learn about all sorts of different things, random and not so random.
Amazing.
And I think curiosity, I think that's what drives everything, having that curiosity to just keep going and keep digging. And that's maybe a skill I got throughout my PhD as well. So that curiosity and digging. So I think people should just, it doesn't have to be okay, I've made a decision, I need to stick to it now. It can start as few hours a week, see how it goes, talk to people, get
side
mentors.
hustle into the main event. You've talked, Freddie, a bit about it. You're in a peer group, you knew these people, you grew up. Again, what was that tipping point for you guys? I know you touched on it a little bit in your presentation, but how did it go?
I mean, there's two sides to it. One of it was panic about what we were going to do after university. So we decided to set something else up for ourselves, partly because we realized there wasn't really a space for us to do what we wanted to do, which was facilitate conversations about masculinity. So that was one of the big things, was actually taking the plunge and basically setting up our own job, because we wanted to do it. We wanted to see if it worked. I think also the other thing, and slightly jumping off what you've said as well, is that we, not intentionally, but luckily we did, particularly because it coincided with COVID, we had a long period of kind of doing things part-time and kind of giving ourselves that space to work things out, find out what actually works, what does the market actually want, what do schools actually want. And then once we'd done that, we found that we're going, okay, there is a potential here for this. Schools are looking for healthy masculinity stuff. Then we took the plunge. That was sort of 4 years in and did full time, basically.
Amazing.
So I think it was about giving ourselves that space to work things out. And then once you worked it out, then you can take the risk. It's still a risk,
Yep.
but you can take that risk with a little bit more confidence at that point.
Amazing.
Okay, there's a foundation to jump from here.
Makes lots of sense.
Yeah.
Makes lots of sense. For yourself, Tina, you're not the only founder that we've had on this stage that has been in big consultancies, big investment banks, that type of stuff, and then took the plunge. So yours was slightly different in that you'd gone down one path. You were working for Accenture, working in IT. What did that look like for you? Were you kind of sat at your desk one moment and then thinking, "No, it's not the one"? What was that tipping point for yourself?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to start a company when I was quite young. So when I was first year in university. But I wanted to get that corporate experience first. So I thought working at Accenture is a great way to work across all industries, working with big clients. For example, I was working in defense, to telecom, to fashion. So I was so many different clients and so many different people that I worked with in the 3 years that I was at Accenture, and that helped me build my soft skills. So I think for me, it was important for my CV, in case startup didn't work out, I had something solid on my CV. And then about starting a business, I think it's very important to be passionate about what you're doing. So because burnout is literally, it's real, right? So if you feel like you're not going to be interested in doing that in a few years, then it's probably not the right idea for you, because it takes time to build a business. As you can see, we've been working on it for quite a few years. And I'm so happy to hear you turn a profit, because it's just really like grind, cash flow, and stress in the early days. So I think if you're really passionate about the business idea, go for it. It's good to get some business advisors to maybe look over your business plan and idea before you go full on, but don't take too long as well, because you can't make it perfect. So just go for it. If you're passionate, you have the right setup for it, just go and trial it. For us, it was going to farmers markets first and getting feedback from customers.
Amazing, amazing. I've eased you all in with that. That was a soft one. I'm going to get a bit specific now. I want to talk money. So you've taken the step, you've had the idea, you've got the base behind you, you realised it's the right time, you're inspired by others, co-founders, that you're going into it. But there has to be a practical point to it as well, in terms of how are you going to fund this step into the unknown. And I'll maybe start with you first, Tina, and we'll see where we go from there. What did that look like for you? Again, particularly when you're building a physical product, you have to pay suppliers, you have to pay to produce something to sell. So what was the funding like in those super early stages?
Yeah, I mean, funding, cash flow is always a difficult subject to talk about. But like you said, for food and drink, the capital cost is high, like commitment to manufacturing runs, paying the suppliers, and of course marketing spend, promotions with retailers. So everything adds up. For us, the first round was crowdfunded through a pre-sale of products. I think that's the benefit of having a physical product. You can easily do like a Kickstarter campaign. For us, it was a crowdfunder, very similar concept where you have rewards for donations. And so, for example, we would give out a case pre-sale for, let's say, a bit more, like £40. So it obviously is more than if they would have bought it, but they want to support you as a business as well. So you get a lot of people who just want you to succeed. And for us, it was also good for marketing. But a lot of our early investors through that crowdfunder campaign were people, actually, to my surprise, soft ties. So they weren't people who were like, I mean, of course, I had some friends and family, but it wasn't all friends and family. It was actually people who I just met through events. And actually, one of the biggest amounts that we received was from someone I met through a summer workshop. So it was someone that I met over 2 weeks. But it wasn't like a friend. But now we're friends, let's say. After he donated, we're friends. But what I mean is, like, it's weak ties. So people who you just met, for example, in this room. So networking is so important because you never know down the line how we can help each other.
Fantastic, fantastic. And you two guys, what did it look like, that early funding? Was it very scrappy, bootstrapped, and then at some point down the line you went for bigger grant funding once you'd got a bit of a base? How did you live, basically?
Not off VoiceBox, basically, is the answer, from somewhere else. So at the beginning we had some funding that would cover the kind of core costs and paying ourselves for a couple of days a week and so on, and that helped us to start with. But at that point we were making a living elsewhere. And until we'd kind of built that momentum, I mean, even before we did build that momentum, you know, the last couple of years we were still on very little, paying ourselves very little for the work. But grant funding, essentially at the beginning when we were working things out, we were quite lucky that because we're a social enterprise, a CIC, community interest company, we can apply for certain grants that are often only available to charities as well. So we were able to do that and then build up the momentum with basically sales and other stuff elsewhere. Yeah.
Amazing. I loved you touch on sales earlier, so we're going to come back to sales. But again, the invite is there if anyone has questions. Yourself, Madalena, was it similar, you know, bootstrap to begin and then go the grant route after?
Bootstrapped. So because everything we're going to have coming in, it's all going to go back into the product development. But so at the beginning, I was still working. I was lecturing, and then I had my postdoc and kept lecturing even after that. But it wasn't full-time, it was almost full-time. And then it was funded by the family as well, so I believe they either really believed in me or they just had no choice. So I'm really not sure yet, because every 3 months I kept getting the question, so are you sure you want to do this, or are you going to keep going, how long are you going to keep going for? You know,
I actually had that. When I started my business, my dad said, how long are you going to do this for? I was like, that's 15 years ago. So,
I still get asked.
Of course, they do. They don't all understand, do they? They don't understand.
No, because I do actually, because even now, on top of being full-time on the startup and doing a lot of the work, I still do a lot of work for him. On his business, on digitalizing everything, putting all the platforms together, making everything efficient, as it's just literally everything in terms of digital stuff.
Amazing.
So yeah, that's how I fund it, by giving something back to to the family.
I like that. My personal funding journey is slightly more maverick than that, in that I was a contractor for a long time and I'd saved all my tax to give to HMRC, as good contractors should. And then it was the 2008 financial crisis and I invested the whole lot in the stock market. But it went well, and then I used all of that to start my business. So
amazing.
It was a very stressful time, but there we go. We move on. In terms of that, then, financial lessons. I'm just going to throw it out there. If anyone has got like a gem to throw into the room, like just go for it. If we haven't, no problem. But my question that I had here was, you know, was there a financial lesson that you wish you'd learned earlier? Is there anything that you would perhaps think about when it comes to cash flow or funding, or would you go for grants early? Is there anything that just jumps to mind when you're starting that you wish you knew then? I can see a nod from you, Freddie. So
one of them is that grants often are a waste of time for us anyway. That actually they are often a big waste of time. We worked out that for us, we were much better off spending that time investing in basically outreach and getting in the room with people and selling and so on, because grants can use a lot of your time and often don't pay off. So we used to do a lot of grant-based stuff. That was basically the majority of what we did. And at one point we just went, we're just going to not do that anymore. We're not going to spend any time doing that. We're going to focus all of our time on kind of marketing and outreach and all of this sorts of stuff. And that has really helped us. And now we only do it for very specific projects. If a partner comes to us and says we've got this grant fund for this specific project, then we'll collaborate on that. But until that, other than that, we don't really look at, we're starting to think about potentially for some bigger ones, but we focused on other things. Basically, that was our big thing, was that we were in a position to be able to build the sales side of the business. So
they do take a lot of time as well. I know you spoke to that as well. So have you found the grant path overall beneficial, I guess, or is there anything you would change?
To be honest, no. Because when I I made the decision, everybody was against it. I said, no, we're gonna go with this, and put everything together. So that really helped me to shape the platform, the USPs, did all the research, everything from scratch, found the collaborators, the subcontractors, the employees. I know it sounds crazy, but before you actually apply for the grant, you need to specifically say the names of the people that are going to work on specific things. So I don't know, marketing or product development, whatever that may be, technical stuff. So how am I supposed to know, I don't know, 2 years in advance who I'm going to work with? But they still ask that of you. So it really helped me to just pull myself together and just get everything done, like the plan, the risks, literally everything. And well, when we got the answer back, so it was the SMART grant we applied for, and then you could reapply. But where we applied, and then they stopped the type of grant, so we couldn't reapply with the feedback. So that was a bit of a bummer. But then, few months down the line, not even a few months, I got an email from Innovate UK Business Growth saying they've seen our application, recognized our application as being a very good application, and they offered a bespoke business.
The highs and lows.
I was shocked when I saw that email that day. I thought, wow, this is amazing.
Some things are meant to be. I love it.
Exactly. So would I do the same thing again? So I think when I decided to apply, it was more out of, let's see where this takes us. How difficult can it be? How long can it take? Because when I spoke to the consulting company, because we had some consultants, so I said, okay, I'm going to get some consultants for this. I'm going to put the money in, and then we're going to get this done. And they said, oh yeah, I don't know, 4 weeks, 6 weeks of work max. So in my head, okay, if they said 6 weeks, it's probably going to take 4. But it actually took me in total 5 months.
Wow, that's a big gamble at that stage as well, eh? So yeah, well done.
That was in August 2024.
Well done.
So
what about yourself, Tina?
Yeah, just a quick one. So I'm still self-funded. So one thing I would say is look into EIS and SEIS if you're looking to fundraise, because then investors get a tax break. I don't know the exact info, but definitely check out, because if you can get your company registered for EIS and SEIS early on, then you don't need to worry about it later for registering, because I think the max is 7 years from date of incorporation on company's house that you can still be registered for this.
Yeah, I should know this, but could you tell us a bit more about what that means and what the impact is?
So my understanding is that there's a website for it, I think on gov.uk, but what I understand is that investors, they get a tax break. So in case your company folds, they get some money back from the government. So it's a safer investment.
Okay,
Yeah.
amazing,
It's
perfect.
around about 50% of the attributed contribution. So
Perfect.
you can write off for your offset P&L.
Fantastic. I should have known that, but that is what I needed to hear. So thank you very much.
It's painful, but
It was worth
very
it.
attractive.
Okay, yeah. I know the investors absolutely rate it, yeah, for sure. Amazing. I love that. Thank you very much. You talked a bit about selling, Freddie.
Mm-hmm.
It is a dirty word, but I'm such a fan of sales. I love it. You've got to just lean into it. You've got to embrace it. So I just wondered, it sounds like you've been on a bit of a journey. It's obviously a passion project. You know, you're very motivated to make an impact. But you've come back to, actually, we do have to sell. Ultimately, we want to be successful. We've got to bring in money. So I just wondered, what's that look like? Have you learned anything specifically about selling? Have you got any tips when it comes to selling?
I mean, well, one, just basically, it's a key skill for you to upskill yourself in. The second big thing is that the way that I understand it, and I've been taught it, is that it's all about pain, basically. What you have to do is work out what is the problem, what's the pain that person is feeling, and then you articulate what you're doing as solving that problem and solving that pain. And then at that point, it becomes about value, and you're proving that you're providing value for them, and then people are willing to basically spend money on it. So the process that I was taught was quite simplified, but from my friend who works in a tech startup, and he does much more complicated things. But he basically said was, the first thing you do is you book in one meeting with them, and you let them talk. You don't pitch anything to start with. You let them talk, you ask them lots of questions, you get to the core of what they're experiencing, why they're interested, why they want to talk to you. Then you can tell them about, we do this and that, and then at that point you book in a second call and you say, look, why don't we have another conversation where I can go away, chat to my team, we can talk through what solution we think will work best, and then you prep for that call with having taken all the things they said, and you then basically prep for it, and you take your demo, whatever it is, and you say, this is how it solves all of the things that you said you're dealing with, and then you can go from there. Basically, that's the key thing that we've learned to start with.
Makes so much sense. And how much quicker is it now with AI and transcription notes and all that stuff? Life's much easier nowadays, isn't it?
Everything is easier.
Everything's easier with AI. Do you know, I've got to give Jess a little bit of a shout out here. So we depend on sponsorship for a lot of stuff. So we follow a similar process, discovery call. We learn what everyone's blah, blah, blah. But the thing that Jess is amazing at is booking the follow-up meeting whilst on the first call. That is a skill, man. I struggle, but people have booked meetings with Jess and they don't even know how. It's like black magic. It's such a skill. How is that in my diary? Jess made it happen. Obviously, I'm in the same world as Freddie. You know, I pitch for projects. I put together a proposal. I either win a sizable invoice or I don't make any money. Selling to consumers is obviously slightly different. I guess once your product's on the shelf, beyond the branding and stuff like that, you perhaps lose a bit of control and stuff. What does sales look like when you're building a physical product?
Yeah, actually, I agree with everything you said. I actually did a sales workshop recently with Virgin Startup. They offer free courses as well. So actually, the sales instructor was saying that ask people questions and listen to what the consumer wants. And it's the same selling a physical product. So if I'm selling direct to consumer, I'm doing sampling. Instead of saying, oh, my product's amazing, you should drink it, ask do you need some natural energy? Do you like a healthy tea beverage? Is that what you're looking for? So ask what the consumer wants instead of saying, oh, this is what you need. Because understanding what the consumer needs is then they will say, oh, this is actually what I want. So you kind of phrasing it in a way that they're going to say, yes, this is what I want, without them knowing it. So it's a bit of like a mind game, I guess.
A bit like therapy, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
but we also sell B2B, so selling to retailers. That's different because for the buyers, their main incentive is to make the most money for their category, because that's how they are promoted as well. So how can you make it that you're adding incremental value to their category? So that's what they would be looking at. So that could be pricing, you're gonna offer marketing, you're gonna offer sampling. So for example, earlier today, I was sampling on campus at Imperial College because we sell in the canteens there. So how can you support with that?
Amazing. Again, the invite's there. If I see a hand, there we go. Thank you so much. Come on, jump in.
You said you were going to get onto it, but I was curious about the co-founder situation because you all got different stories. Obviously, you've done it solo. You seem to have lost someone on the way, and then you had lost someone. You've also found someone. So how did you find them?
I lost two on the way, actually.
Oh, okay. How did you make these choices?
R.I.P. Come on, tell us about the Good question. Thank you. We'll come to you first, please.
It's for me, generally, I think it's a lot about gut feeling. So I tend to go a lot of the time, it's how I feel about something, whether I make that decision to go with it or not. Because I don't know, I don't have a specific explanation behind it, but obviously there's more to it than that. There's the way I work with someone, so kind of trialing out. So we did have a third co-founder came in, and it all started really well at the beginning, but then things turned a bit shady, so we had to part ways because of, there was one specific incident. I'm not going to go into it, but and then that was the moment when I realized, okay, we have very different values, we want to do very different things on the day-to-day when it comes to relationships. I mean, I value relationships a lot, so whether that's with clients or with friends or family and so on, so I value that a lot, and it's part of my, let's say, base values. And if we don't have alignment on those basic things, to me, that's, as a co-founder, I feel like there
course.
needs to be alignment around that at least. So that's how.
And you faced up to it, made the decision, and then I guess once you've made that decision, you've kicked on, and it was the right decision for you at that time.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Freddie?
Yeah, I mean, I guess ours is slightly different in that we were all kind of friends beforehand, and then were lucky that it worked for the most part. So, you know, we were lucky that I guess because the passion came first, like we were very impact driven. So that kind of passion for the topic came first, and then off the back of that we could work other things out. We've all quite fortunately found our different niches as well. So I do a lot of the kind of sales and so on, and my colleague Andy does a lot of the creative side of things, so making the content, the workshops, so on, and my colleague Jack does a lot of managing our facilitation team, and we kind of had to work out who would work best in which bit. So that's worked really well. Sometimes communication can be a challenge with friends, and that sometimes we communicate with each other in ways that aren't the most professional because we have that personal relationship as well, and sometimes that bleeds over, and we've had to manage that a lot. There have been times where we've said, look, at this point on this app or on this channel we don't speak to each other in that way or whatever. So there's a lot of that, and we're quite basically we don't use that certain tone in this place, and that's been all of us. Sometimes that happens just through the stress and so on, but so we've been very lucky that we were all friends because we had a good relationship with each other, and that skill of having a good relationship with each other and that communication has kind of blended into doing the work, which has been brilliant. So we've been able to navigate those moments when they happen in a productive way. The other thing with the founder who kind of took a step back, we just it was a mutual thing where it just wasn't quite working. It wasn't any kind of big thing where different values or anything. It just wasn't. They were given a certain part of the business, and that certain part of the business after the given time period wasn't doing what we wanted it to do. There wasn't another place for anybody else. We weren't looking for a fourth person somewhere else. That was the bit that we needed, and if that wasn't going to work, then there just wasn't a place, basically. And we were all aware of that, and we had a conversation about that. We had to be pushed by our business mentor to go and do it, because he said, it sounds like you've made a decision, but you haven't communicated it, and you haven't had the conversation. You need to go and do it. And it was so much better than we thought it would be. It was actually a really lovely moment among friends, you know, all of us kind of connecting and so on. So that was lovely. So I would say you want to find people who have complementary skills always. We once did a test on kind of our innate attributes, and all three of us at the bottom of our list were the same three attributes, which isn't what you want. You want to have different attributes of what you're good at and what you're bad at. So let's say spreading that out a little bit, but yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, again, very practical question.
Yes.
Did that person have equity in the business at that point? And then what happened?
Because we're a social enterprise and a CIC, a community and just company, our equity is sort of not as much of a deal. But essentially the process was doing the paperwork for them stepping back as a director, and doing the paperwork for transferring that share.
And they were almost relieved when you had the conversation.
So we've kind of done, we're in the process of kind of doing all that paperwork, and one of us will basically buy the £1 share, and we'll then create two others, so then there's an equal share of us. But that was a learning curve as well, and we didn't know how to do that. We had to work all that out. I had to call my other friend who's a lawyer and be like, how do I do this? How do I not get in trouble? You know, so there's a lot of that. But yeah, that's the kind of practicalities of it.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you both for sharing. Again, there we go. There's a question there. Thank you, sir. Jump in.
Can I ask how many founders are here?
Oh, it's a question for everyone.
Good question.
Which physical product?
Oh, no.
Oh.
Way too hard.
So I do sympathize with you. How many founders here know of what is SEIS? So founder who does not know SEIS is a criminal offense. Because it is one of the finest schemes that this government has produced that allows investors to claim 50% of that investment back from the taxes that they would have paid, and so on and so forth.
Good knowledge.
If you do not avail of that, then it's a bit of a...
Amazing.
Anyway.
Love that. This is what we want. This is the audience participation that we're after. Come on. Criminal, was it a criminal offence?
Criminal offence.
It's a criminal offence. Can we have a round of applause for criminal offence? Thank you. We love that. Chen, come on, sir. There was a question.
And one question I have is, for all three of you, the ideas that you come up with, how do you know that this idea is the one that's going to succeed? Because I feel like I've got 1,000 different ideas in my head, but every time I ask myself, how is this going to scale? And I keep it kill the idea before it started.
Jeez,
And
good luck. Good luck.
When it's tough for you, how do you know when to continue and how do you know when to call it quits? Like,
For the benefit of YouTube, the question was, how do you know when you've got a good idea? And I want to hand that one over to any one of the panel.
So I would say, obviously, it's all feedback that you get from people. So you just go out there, and then you talk to as many people as possible. So what we did was a lot of interviews, a lot of, I did a lot of events. We actually took people on team calls for like an hour and a half to just grill them on different things related to what we wanted to know. So ruling out different things, and that's basically what it is. And then you see, is it do people have an urgency for it, or is it just a nice to have? If it's a nice to have, then they will probably say, yeah, but are we going to pay for it? Maybe not today. So
What about yourself, Freddie, Tina?
Yeah, I think the big thing for us, we're quite lucky in that the what we're selling is there's quite low upfront kind of development costs, right? So we were able to basically come up with a kind of workshop and some programs and so on, and then put them out there and see if the market wanted them and people were willing to kind of pay for them and so on. So we were basically able to very quickly work out essentially which of these things, because initially we had 3 or 4 different workshops that we would offer, and we quite quickly worked out, now this is the one that actually works and people are actually looking for, and that we're the ones who are best placed to do it. So essentially, the answer is, how do you know which idea is the best, is you get the feedback from people buying it from you, basically, is which one of these are people actually willing to spend money
I'm
on.
in that camp,
basically, yeah.
like 100%. Jess and I try stuff all the time,
Yeah.
and more than half of it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just got to try, haven't you?
Yeah.
Is my take
Yeah.
on it, and it's different in
Yeah.
different industries, but that is definite feedback in it. So. What about yourself, Tina?
So I think good question. I think actually it's not the final idea ever, right? As a founder, we're always changing and adding and developing our business. So I'm solo founder, which means I get to make all the decisions. So I can move quite fast. So if I want to develop the chai latte, I'll just do it. And then if I want to develop, let's say just sell tea powder, for example, matcha powder, I can do that as well. So it's just, I think, looking at what consumers are wanting and what is trending in the market, because you can always adapt your business to that. So let's say I'm selling tea now, but in the future I could also sell other types of like sparkling beverages, so within the whole industry of soft drinks, right? So I think that's the point. And then how not to quit? Well, I think we've all had the days when things are not going right and we want to quit. So I think the important part is the passion part. Like, you're super passionate about your businesses, and that's what keeps you going. You have that impact that you want to bring with your business. So I think that's the kind of the only way to keep going, right? Because we're gonna have ups and downs. But what makes you want to continue? So for me, it's like getting feedback from our customers saying that we've made a difference in their lives, whether that's just like encouraging them to take a tea break or giving them that natural energy boost that they needed for the day. So that picked me up.
Yeah.
I do have one thing to add to what Tina just said, is finding your why. So instead of focusing on how you're going to deliver, first you need to know your why you're doing it, what's it solving in a way, like and then kind of getting that feedback to see if it's, I think that's, it's really helped me to kind of keep myself grounded, because ideas, you're always going to have a million ideas of doing different things.
Just one thing to add as well, one of the things that we've started doing for the last 6 months to a year is, if you already have some people you're working with, some client bases, we always ask them basically, how else can we support you? What else do you need? And over 6 months period, you get a picture of what everybody is looking for, basically. And then that informs us, okay, actually we thought the next thing we should develop is this thing, but actually 50% of people that we talk to are saying this one thing, we need to go with that. So again, just finding ways of getting that instant feedback is really important from people as well. Yeah.
Love it. We've got 4 or 5 minutes left, so the mindset, motivation and managing yourself is definitely something I'd love to use some of that for. Also questions, and there was a hand.
I was just going to ask, how did you come across or find your mentor or somebody who inspired you to keep that process continuing?
LinkedIn.
Come on.
LinkedIn. But is it through networking? Like, as in, there is no right or wrong answer. Obviously, it could be a person in the street through
Yeah, so I actually found my mentor through British Library. So British Library offers a lot of resources as well, and they have a mentoring program. So they matched me with someone in the industry. So my mentor has his own Chinese pancake and bao company. So he produces it, like the physical products, freshly made, and he supplies to restaurants. So it's a different category, but it's relevant because he understands like the manufacturing. He's more B2B. He understands the margins. So having someone who understands what you're going through is definitely very useful. So that's one way to find a mentor.
Fantastic. Freddie?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking for people who were in business doing similar sorts of things that had done kind of what we wanted to do. So I found our guy James, who's wonderful, through basically looking at people who were either doing kind of mental health or interested in masculinity, but also in the kind of business world and startup world and so on. Connected with them, started having conversations with them, had a conversation with him about various different things, and we had a wonderful conversation. And initially it wasn't about the mentoring, and he said, actually I can do this mentoring, and then we kind of took it from there basically. So just sort of through being open, really. Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, do you pay for that support? You do. Is that almost like a retainer?
Yeah.
Or it's like
Yeah,
regularly
monthly.
booked in,
It's
or you
monthly
can
coaching session.
you can call on him when needed and stuff.
Yeah, so we have a 90-minute monthly coaching session, and then a WhatsApp group that if we need to, we can kind of ask some questions, and we can have like a every a couple of half-an-hour chats with him as well if we need to, and so on.
Can I ask, has he also invested?
No, he has not. No.
So not
No.
So it's just that there's always
Yeah.
a synergy where a lot of people who become a mentor end up also investing.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Madalena?
For me, it's been through accelerators, because we did back in 2022, I did the startup accelerator with Essex Startups. So we've continued collaborating throughout the years, and that's where the mentorship really started. So now I actually have 2 mentors from the same team. It's they have different, let's say, skill sets. They have, and I do like to put the same idea through to many different people, just
Feedback.
to see feedback and perspective, and then through my own network as well, I do have people that I regularly meet up with, just to bounce back what we've been working on. Same with Barclays Eagle Labs. So we are doing an accelerator now for funding readiness, which has been very useful, and they offer some mentorship through that as well. So yeah, it's all been free, which has been amazing, because otherwise it would have been very costly.
I love it. Love it.
So,
Well done. I shouldn't be in charge of. Oh, come on. There's right. We've got 2 more questions. I'm going to come here first because the look of disappointment after I gave you the thumbs up. I was in trouble, wasn't I? So we're going to come to you. We're going to come to you, and then we're going to wrap things. Oh Christ. We can come to you. We can come to you. We can come to you, and then we're going to go to the bar. Okay, please.
Thank you very much. Yeah, wanted, if you don't mind, all 3 of you, just to we didn't really speak about also the competitors. How relevant is it really when you start such a business like all of you? For example, Tina, it's a drink for a drink company. Like there are millions already, and you of course with your programs online for healthy masculinity. And you, Madeleine, I know less about that and all that, but still, I guess how relevant is it? Yeah, what did you do basically, all of you, with your competitors when you started to just wanted to make business?
What I might do, rather than come to all 3 of you in one, if one of you've got like a real strong opinion, like just jump out, and then we'll see where we're going. We'll keep going as well. So,
well, of course, FMCG is fast-moving consumer goods, so that means there's always new companies coming, and companies come and go. So, if I look back, when I first started, how many companies are still around? There's actually probably half or more are no longer existing. I mean, considering it was also COVID, so a lot of companies folded. So yeah, definitely high competition. I guess in a way, sometimes they are competitors, but they also help build the category. So they are selling similar products, but some companies have more marketing spend. So with that, they're able to build a category. So for us, our product was very new to market because tea lattes, tea with oat milk was not well known in the UK. But now there's a lot more interest in matcha, and matcha, it was one of our initial flavors. So with the growth of matcha, that's actually helped us, even though they are competitors, help us grow as well and getting more visibility without us paying any of the marketing.
Amazing. Yeah, you've seen the opportunity, and I didn't even cross my mind. So yeah, thank you for sharing that one. Freddie, you're a sales machine. You don't worry about competition, do you? Freddie doesn't look at the
I wish.
Do you worry about competition?
Yeah. Yes, and one of the things that we're learning to do is that kind of account management stuff. So the kind of client retention, really continuing to build really strong relationships with the people that we already have a relationship with. I have always been slightly amazed. There's one or two competitors that have been in the space, a couple of years, 3 or 4 years longer than we have. I'm always slightly amazed as anybody left because, basically, because there's already somebody doing. So there's something going on, and one of the things that is important to do with competitors, sort of work out what the point of difference is, right? What's the point of difference? What can we lean into that somebody else isn't doing? So one of the things that we do that a lot of other people don't do is mixed gender workshops. A lot of people don't do that. So we've kind of really leaned into that as part of our approach, but also because there is some data that suggests that it's positive. But so that's one of the things I'd say. Again, also at the same time, there's always going to be competitors. You need to be aware of them. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say.
Not care about them.
And well, you do your thing, and if you have confidence in your solution, in your product, and whatever it is, you're going to go out there, and basically all you can do is put yourself out there and do your best. Yeah.
I'm going to keep the questions going, and we're going to come to you, I think, for this one, Madalena.
I'm coming back to the
we're not.
mentoring question.
Come on.
You mentioned mentorship with people that already know your business and what you're doing, but did you work with coaches, like mindset coaches, or do you feel the need to work with one of them?
I think it's very important because coaching is a big part of, because it's how you build yourself and the company. So it's kind of being asked of those right questions, and not just from a, let's say, company perspective, but from you as a founder. I personally haven't done any specific coaching, but our mentorship, so the one that I've done, has been a bit blended between mentorship and kind of just coaching as well. And also I am a huge fan of human behavior, so I tend to read a lot around human behavior and kind of trying to be aware of what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, how I'm feeling. So that kind of, because you wanted to touch on motivation and how do you keep going. So for me, what really helps, where I feel like everything is crumbling, I kind of take a step back, I disconnect for 2-3 days, I come back with a clear head, and I think it's very, very important to have a bit of space to clear your head. So for me, clearing my head is being social, kind of forgetting about work completely, which has been very difficult to do lately. We were talking about this earlier actually, and that really helps you to put things into perspective and kind of realize what's actually going on, because you might just be a feeling that you're having, maybe you're not seeing things clearly, you might just need a shift of perspective. So that's why I'm a huge fan of human behavior and kind of being aware of how I'm reacting to different situations and kind of building on that. So I think Simon Sinek has some really fantastic books, which I love. I like, the podcasts, and so
amazing. I'm going to keep moving. This is the last question, and then we'll do a wrap up. Come on.
So, Freddie, this question is for you. The kind of context that you are in, and the needs that you're solving, they are not just local by nature, they are global by nature. What is your vision for scaling this, at a global level, let us say, and how would you factor in the aspect of culture as you scale?
Absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, the vision is that we will be VoiceBox International and work everywhere we possibly can. That's the vision. We have started doing some work with particularly international schools because they have, currently it helps that they've got English, so they teach in English, so that's been helping with that. One of the things that we hopefully will be looking to do is set up hubs firstly in different areas of the UK, so in different cities, because at the minute we're kind of predominantly in London, set up some hubs. We're doing some work in Northern Ireland actually in January, so we're kind of starting that process a little bit. And then, my family's from the south of Spain, so I have that kind of bilingual connection there as well. So looking at Spain as a potential in the future. And one of the things that we do is that a lot of the work, and we make sure the work is always participant-led, so student-led. So when we walk into a room, I'm not coming in and saying this is what masculinity is. The structure of the workshop is, what does masculinity mean to you? I want you to tell me what it means to you to be a man, and then I react to that, and then I respond to that, and I have a look at it, and I go, okay, that looks okay, this looks maybe not so okay, let's have a conversation about what's the impact of this idea, what's the impact of this idea, which of these do we want to keep, which of these do we want to kind of move away from, what impact do they have? So in that sense, because we do a lot of work within London, and within London there's already a lot of different cultural differences, part of the process is talking to schools about that, so we get a context from them, so we're kind of prepared for it. But then the other thing is that participant-led level, that we're always asking them to tell us what it means to them, because for example, we do work in independent schools, and sort of independent schools in, say, Devon, right? The idea of masculinity is going to be quite different to what it's going to be at a state school in Tottenham, right? And it is quite different. There are lots of similarities as well, and those are very interesting to see, but there are also differences. So it's about letting them tell you what it means, and then we respond to it. And that's part of the skill that our team has, is doing that. So that's kind of how we work with that. Yeah.
I told you he was good at sales. Didn't I? We all want to sign up for this. I love it.
Maybe you should run a workshop.
I'm so weak, but it's Tam, isn't it? First time. You've got the last question. But you've got to pick one person, that's the rule.
It's for the three of them. No, but I'm going to take... you know what, you guys, you feel like if you're
fight.
Strongly about
okay,
it.
yeah.
So you know, each of you made a shift, like from art to the facilities and boyhood. Tina, Madelina as well. So how has it been received for you to make that shift, because we hear a lot about credibility. And has it been a challenge for you to be credible, in this new arena, or not? And what are your fears? Your fears, or has it been received well or not? Like when it's a new hat that you're actually wearing compared to everything you've done in the past.
Amazing. Did you worry, any of you, about that shift into entrepreneurship and credibility?
Well, yeah. Well, for food and drink, actually, a lot of people come from different backgrounds. So people start food and drink companies often.
Dismissed. Okay, so not you.
No, because they want to share like cultural heritage of their country, or like a grandma's recipe that they want to bring out to the world. So often it's more emotion driven, and I think given that people come from all different backgrounds, so many come from like investment banking, consulting, and yeah. So I guess you're looking for other responses.
So I guess yes. I think for us it was more a shift in kind of method than in content. So that the passion, the content was still about masculinity. So we still had that knowledge base. The other thing I'd say slightly flippantly is that you get credibility just by holding on long enough. That if you're there for long enough and you do the work for long enough, you build credibility, right? So at the beginning, when I was a 22-year-old who'd just come out of university running these workshops, people probably weren't looking at me and being like, yeah, this person's got it, this person knows what they're doing, right? Whereas maybe now, they see what 200 schools and whatever, so you build that credibility. It's not something you just have. You build that through the process of working things out, and also building your own confidence as well, right? That the more you do, the less of an imposter you feel because you're doing more of it, and you're building that credibility. Yeah.
Yeah, I second that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just got to do it.
Do it.
Do
I
it.
love it.
Yeah.
Jess, was that a serious question?
No, I'm gonna just say it's also about like, I know for us, it's about like owning the hustle. Like when I first started, we were literally selling to people without a sponsor pack. We were making up numbers. Like it was crazy. But we genuinely believed in it. We were talking the talk before we had a product, before we had a community, and we literally just lent in. And I would recommend like doing that. I know it's quite salesy, but yeah,
So
it's
the embodiment
literally
of fake it till you make it.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. You know, you figure
Honestly,
it out.
I've not made anything up since Monday.
Oh, never.
Cool, right. So we are definitely drawing things to a close this time. I just want to end one piece of advice. Like we're going to go boom, 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 super quick, and then we're going to maybe nip to the bar, do a bit of networking, talk amongst ourselves. But is there one piece of advice, one hint, one tip, one book, one podcast? Is there one thing that you would like to share with this wonderful audience? And I'll start with you, Tina. And we'll come
Yeah,
this way.
so for me, I'm a solo founder, so having a support network and meeting peer mentors is very important to me to bounce ideas off of, and also the founder loneliness journey. But for me, I think you guys asked about business mentor, business coach. So I've gotten business coach from my university, so Imperial College. And I've also gotten support through like government funded programs. So like Newable, they offer free business coaching as well. And then for food and drink specifically, Bread and Jam is a really good network where I've met a lot of other founders in food and drink, and we share tips and tricks.
I love that. It's being around people and bringing it all together, eh? Yeah, perfect. Freddie?
I think one of the big things that's maybe not at the very early stages, but later on, the big thing for us has been learning when to say no as well as when to say yes. So being able to clock, actually, that's something that's going to sap my time and energy and headspace, and actually I need to say no to that for whatever reason, whether it be that just the early stages of a big partnership, you kind of get the sense that maybe this is going to be a bit of a nightmare. Actually, maybe I don't want to do that.
Super hard to do,
It's really hard to do, right? It's really hard to do, and trusting that something else will come along. But so one of the things that we have internally is we have very hard lines of like, if this happens, we just say no. If somebody asks for X amount of a discount, we just go, we just can't do it at that level. Or just being able to say no at certain points, I think, is one of the big things. I can't remember what the name of the principle is, but it's sort of 80-20, right? That 80% of your headaches come from 20% of things. And what is it? The Pareto principle, right? And it's the same thing with productivity, that 80% of your kind of productivity often tends to come from doing 20% of things really well, right? So it's working out what those things are. So saying no when you need to.
Great tip. Love that, Freddie. Thank you. Madalena?
I think so for me, so whatever you want to do, whether that's being a founder or just in general, so just go for it. So if you feel it's like the right thing, just go for it, because most of the time you've got nothing to lose, and we tend to just overthink when, if it's not a problem for today, then it's not a problem. So just
take the leap.
Just take the leap, yeah. And I think that's just keep going.
On, eh? Take the leap. That's what we wanted.
And just keep going long enough and trust that it's the right path for you if you've chosen it. So
amazing.
So in short for you, paralysis of analysis.
Get in.
Yeah.
We are drawing things to a close. So Tina, Freddie, Madalena, thank you very much. Can we have a round of applause, please?
Thank you.